Welcome to the Student Body Presidential Debate. On behalf of our student government and administration, I'd like to welcome everyone to this debate. We're super excited to have you here. My name is Neil Maxwell. I'll be moderating for tonight. Today is an opportunity for you to hear directly from our two presidential candidates to talk about their goals, their leadership style, and vision for our council and school. This debate is designed to help you make an informed decision on who you will vote for in our upcoming election. The debate is going to be formatted as the following. Each candidate will begin with a 3-minute opening remarks before questions. We will then move into a series of prepared questions. They will each have 2 minutes to respond. The order of response will switch every question. And then at the very end of that first questioning period, there'll be an opportunity for rebuttals on any of the points the other candidate has talked about in that previous questioning period. We will then move into audience questions. You guys can submit questions at our Stuco email, stuco@msc.edu. We will be reading them off from the ones that we vet. And then at the answering period will be the same, so 2 minutes each. The rotation is flipping every question. At the end of that second questioning period, they will again have a portion for rebuttals as well for answers on those questions. And then they will have the opportunity to give a 1-minute closing remark to finish up the debate. We're also live streaming this, so if you want to watch the archive of the debate later, it's going to be on the sub YouTube account, so you can view that later as well. We ask that the audience remain respectful and hold applause until the end of each of our sections. Now let's meet our two candidates for Student Body President, Rebecca Benjamin and Trevor Wilcox. We appreciate each of you for stepping up to lead and serve our student body for next year. So now begin with the opening statements. So the order was determined by a coin toss. So Becca, you may begin. 2 minutes.
Cool. Oh, okay. Am I staying here?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Becca Benjamin and I'm a senior in biological sciences and my focus area is regenerative medicine and cancer cell research. I'm involved in a lot of things on campus right now. I'm the community liaison for student council and I'm the vice president of philanthropy and service for my sorority, and I'm also vice president of Helix Life Sciences Club and vice president of Phi Sigma Biological Honor Society. The reason I decided to run for student body president was 4 platforms. First is community, second is collaboration, third is accessibility, and fourth is persistence. Community. Community is a big thing for me. I think that there's a gap between the Rolla community and the university, and being a community liaison, I actually had a great opportunity to help run the blood drives, which I think very much help bridge that gap. And because we were able to serve them and give our area, the Ozark region, blood, and I also want to continue doing service events and things like that that help benefit our community as a whole. I think after the tornadoes, I was able to help organize some cleanup efforts, and that I think very much helped the community realize that we are a workforce as well as a university. Like, we can help the people more than they thought we could. Second is collaboration, and so collaboration for me is amongst us as individuals, as students, as orgs. I want us to collaborate together on more events and that kind of stuff. And then I also want to, with collaboration, I think that can help students reach larger audiences, and then we can go to different organizations that you may have never heard of, and they're actually like your niche interest. And so then third is accessibility. So this actually is a very wide category. The one thing that I was focusing on was ADA accessibility. This campus is not very ADA accessible. One of my friends uses a wheelchair, and in Shrink with the renovations, she was unable to go to class. And that is not okay, and that should never be okay for a student who is trying to live life to not be able to attend class. But accessibility is also the Wi-Fi not working, because everything and its mom is on campus. And so if we're unable to do our work because the Wi-Fi on campus is not great, then our accessibility is like, it's no bueno. And then fourth is persistence. Persistence in the fact that student issues have been happening forever, right? We as the student body, as Stuco, have made resolutions, bills, different things to address these issues. However, these issues continually happen, And I co-authored a resolution back in the day about multiple exams on one day. Finals week, we can move your final exam and do it at the testing center a different day if you have more than 3 exams in a day. And so we did a resolution that was like, hey, maybe if this is happening. Cool.
Trevor, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, testing, hello? Hello? Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I deeply appreciate it. My name is Trevor Wilcox. I'm a mechanical engineering major. I'm a junior with an emphasis in manufacturing. As far as leadership experience goes, I have served in Civil Air Patrol for 8+ years. For those of you who don't know, Civil Air Patrol is the United States Civilian Air Force Auxiliary Unit. We conduct a lot of the things that the Air Force doesn't have the time or the resources to do, such as search and rescue operations, as well as general community service, in which I've racked up about 1,800 community service hours, not only within my service, but on my own time as well. As far as student involvement goes, I'm not in a whole lot. I'm just a manufacturing team member for the motorcycle team, and I do it because I enjoy it. Why I ran for student body? Well, I'm a lot like probably a lot of you out there. You just want to get to class. You want to, complete your assignments, go do your homework, hang out with friends, breeze through college until you're finished. But unfortunately for me, I was seeing things that I simply could not sit down and tolerate. I watched as our buildings and our facilities are continuously falling apart, as new buildings are being shot up that serve absolutely no purpose. I mean, seriously, have any of you actually been in the visitor center? The second visitor center when we already have Havener, but I digress. I've watched as my tuition has continued to increase. I've watched as my food bill continues to increase, and I've watched as my housing has continued to increase, all of which I have been at some point or another forced to pay by the school to attend. Even though that's rather general for other schools, that's something I would like to be able to tackle. I would like to not have the school reach deeper and deeper into our pockets every year and expect us to not take any action, not react to the overstepping of their boundaries from the service they provide. And I'm not even just talking about food or tuition. At every turn and twist, the offices and the administration has been reaching deeper and deeper into your pockets. Fees and lab fees and other payments have been continuously attributed to us as students who are likely already struggling financially. I know on my part, I pay for most of my schooling as of right now. Even though I'm very lucky to have some scholarship money, not everybody in the school is as financially well off. So seeing that the school continues to make it more and more difficult for people who are just trying to succeed in life, just trying to get a good job, who above all else have the intelligence and the will to succeed in their fields. However, the school is making it more and more difficult for those people to be given the opportunities to succeed. I would like, within all
Sorry
my
about
power,
your time has elapsed.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you both for your opening statements. We're now going to move into our first question period of the debate. So our first question is, what makes you the most qualified candidate for student body president? We're going to start with Trevor. You have 2 minutes.
Well, again, as mentioned, I have had various leadership roles in the Civil Air Patrol. I have been from the bottom, from a flight leader all the way up to Deputy Commander for Operations, in which I managed budget, I managed organization, as well as other leadership roles within the squadron. I've served all the way up to the rank of captain, which is the 4th highest rank in the program, and very few actually ever achieve that. So I already have a solid amount of general leadership experience under my belt. However, what makes me most qualified is my unbridled determination to take on anybody who tries to stand in the way of the student body. I see the student body as some people that should be more free than they are. Less regulation, less budget constraint, less tuition that needs to be earned, less extra fees, again, as I've mentioned, that need to be paid to the school. I am someone who I believe to be strong enough and to have the strong willpower needed to take on the administration, because they're going to fight. I'm already talking about monetary policy. You think they're just going to give that up? You think they're going to give up control of their money? Absolutely not. Just as you don't want them in your pockets, they don't want you in theirs. So it's going to take somebody of extreme determination as well as creativity, because, you know, I'm sure some of you are probably thinking, do I even have the power to do that? I believe I do. From my research and from what I've seen, as well as other people in the student body, I believe that with my creativity, I have the power to do that. And I have the creativity, the determination, and the willpower, and just as much as the time to do stuff like that. So as far as that goes, I think I've got it pretty covered. I appreciate my time.
Thank you. Becca?
Okay, so I've been involved in student council for 2 years, and I've been on the executive committee for 1.5 years, where I first served as the Student Diversity Initiatives Liaison, and now as Community Liaison, like I said. And because of that, I do know how the modes of change work within student council, so our resolutions and our bills. And resolutions are statements that the students can draft about like what the student body wants administration to do, but it's more of an opinion versus a bill which is set in stone within our Constitution, because you'll do a constitutional change, and this is how we will run student council. And I have co-authored one bill. I'm working on authoring a bill this semester, co-authored a resolution, and I authored a resolution last semester. And I think, as well as Trevor was saying, I was VP Finance for my sorority, where I managed a budget of over $500,000. So yeah, whatever that is. And I also worked with other people and 90 members of my sorority. And I also understand how budgets work within our sphere as student council, because we work with the student activity fee, where we are able to give money to organizations who would like to throw on events or have money for their club. Whereas, anyway, I'm also involved in other organizations, and I like to participate in many other things, and I'm in an interesting predicament where I will be starting my master's as well, so I feel like I can cover a broad range of students. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is, how do you see student council's role on campus? So Becca, we'll start with you.
Okay, a lot of people say student council is an org of orgs. That's correct. However, I see it as more of an org of representation. There are people there who are representing their own org and their own interests as well, and that's what student council is. It's representation of the student body as a whole, which is why we have the organization reps there. And we also have representatives at large who can represent themselves, but they have been in good standing for at least 2 semesters, and there's a whole process with that. And so student council itself is here to represent the interests of the student body, and then the president is to represent that interest to the administration. And that is where I would come in. And I also think within the executive committee, we are able to do different facets within that. So within the stuff that I've done, I've worked with diversity initiatives, where I have gone and did a recruitment workshop thing about how to recruit inclusively. And that's very important on this campus because we are a diverse campus. Not everyone is from Missouri, not everyone has the same ethnic background or, you know, sexuality and all of that. And I think that should be represented and should have a spot at the table. And so yeah, and I think student council is the place for that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. The Student Council Executive Committee has 24 members. Oh, wait, sorry.
Are you going to let
Yes. Trevor, it's your turn. My apologies.
Okay. Sorry about that. Anyway, to be fair, I don't even see student council. Play on words as that is. Let's be real here. I'm sure a lot of you really don't see student council doing anything in your day-to-day lives. I know I sure didn't, partially why I wanted to, apply to this position. As well as when I was, collecting signatures, which I had to do in order to run, I had quite a few people. Does student council actually do anything? What does student council actually do? Some people didn't even think that the presidency was an elected position. Some people had absolutely no idea what student council is or what they do on campus. I would like to completely change that. I would like to see student council as public as humanly possible. I would like to see every resolution, every bill changed that displayed somewhere on campus constantly, all the time, as well as public speaking, frequent, so that student council can be seen by other people. And I guess two more generally answer the question. What I see student council as is the highest possible authority on campus. I know some people might think that, you know, the administration, the people at the top, the chancellor is the highest authority on campus. However, what I see student council as, moreover the student body, we are the people who supply the money. We are the people who pay the tuition. Our alumni are the people who donate to the school. We are the ones with the real power. We are the ones who make Missouri S&T what it is. We are the ones who are the ones making it, what was it, the number 3 or number 7 most affordable, most money out of college, university. That's not, sure, they you know, organize things to maybe make it easier on us, but that is not really them. That is us and our determination and our, most importantly, our money. So I would like to see that that is all coming back to you.
Thank you. Now our next question. The Student Council Executive Committee has 24 members, including advisors. How do you plan to lead this team as president? Trevor, we'll start with you.
Back up again, awesome. So I would like to first start with a kind of build a solid relationship with everybody that I'll be working with. I'll be working with, you know, obviously quite a few people from different backgrounds. I won't get to choose very many of them. So in order to implement my policies, I'll obviously have to make them like me, or else things are going to be rather difficult. So trying to establish a personal relationship, you know, talking frequently with people, going out and doing personal events, just basic team building activities to really get to know each other. Maybe even personally hang out one-on-one time. That could be arranged, it depends. I wouldn't want anybody to think I'm out on a little date with anybody, but trying to really bolster the relationship with all 24 members of student council, trying to make them, you know, all of us are friends, all of us are working towards a common goal. So I would like to really present myself, even if I have differing views with many of the people in student council, I'd like to be able to calmly and professionally discuss all issues with the people who I hope to consider my friends by the start of next year. I would like to be able to work cohesively, get everybody's ideas done. Everybody on student council should be representing student council, even if our ideas differ, even if my ideas differ from Rebecca over here. We have, you know, different ideas of how we want to get things done, what should be done. So overall, friendship, community, that is what I seek with those who I'll be working with.
Thank you. Becca?
Okay, so as I mentioned before, I've served on student council or on the executive committee for 1.5 years, and so I've seen 2 different presidents and their leadership styles, and I like to say that I can piece together parts of their leadership that I enjoyed and bring that into this next coming year. And then I definitely flubbed that number, by the way. I'm so sorry about the 500,000. I'm pretty sure, I was trying to say 150,000. That was my bad, guys. But also for my sorority, I've worked with a group of over 90 people, and we were able to coordinate events. And then similarly with the service projects, I've coordinated large service projects throughout the community. And so I think working with people, 24 people, that will be relatively in my wheelhouse. But as a person, my big values that I value are empathy, and I think an empathetic leader is something that we need. We need someone that understands where people are coming from and know that we all are working towards a common goal, like Trevor said. And I also think that having a space where people feel comfortable saying, you know, hey, I have this idea, hey, I have this idea, and then we can take the best parts of those ideas and mush them together to make something wonderful. That is my style of leadership. And so I would love to bring that into the executive committee, but also into Stuco as a whole, where people feel like they can come and talk to us and come and be like, hey, actually I do have this problem. Cool, what can we do to solve that? And so that's, yeah. Oh, and then, okay, with advisors, I've worked with advisors my entire time I've been at S&T, and it's an interesting predicament to be in with these advisors because they're here to support you, and so I think it's a give and take relationship of we're supporting each other. So thank you.
What specific new changes or initiatives would you work to implement if elected? We'll start with Becca.
Cool. Again, one of my big platforms is collaboration. I want to see more collaboration between organizations and different entities on campus. One thing that I kind of started this semester was giving it new ideas for the leadership banquet that we host. I think having a specific award of like what's the best collab event or what's the best community event or different things like that can help entice people to want to have those events. And similarly, if they do have these collaborative events, they can, pull together different budgets. And just showing that to the general public of the university, people don't know that. They don't know that, there's a new event budget, like that's from a different budget than the normal events. And so that way we can hopefully promote all of these new things. And then I think a lot of the time on campus, we work independently on issues, and we're going towards the same goal. And I think after COVID, there was an issue where people were not interested in being involved, and there was a lack of passion on campus. However, I think now we have passionate people, but we're not working together towards a common goal. We're working towards these miscellaneous goals that could be one big goal, and we could be, doing something extraordinary with that. And so I want to be able to facilitate that. Thank you.
Trevor?
I don't know if you guys have walked into any of the community stores recently and have realized that the food prices are a little much. I walked into one of the stores the other day, bought a candy bar about this big. Well, I didn't buy it because I looked at the price. Scan that, John, $5 whole for a candy bar like this big, I swear. Anybody wonder why that is? That's because the university, I've mentioned it before, but the university can literally force you to buy whatever food, whatever slop they're peddling. This is because they have a 2-year requirement on purchasing meal plans. This allows the school to create an artificial monopoly around their food system, which allows them to feed you whatever slop they deem necessary in order to, maybe make a quick buck. Obviously, not accusing anybody of anything, but it's very obvious that our food is garbage. It sucks. I lived in TJ my first year. None of them behind the counter really know. Well, some of them do. I've had some pretty good food in TJ before, but on a regular basis, there was one time where I had chicken completely raw for 3 days in a row. It was fried on the outside, looked good. Cut that open, pink on the inside. Not cooked at all. Terrible. That is because they can force you. You're not going to blow your $3,000, $4,000, $6,000 over maybe the course of a couple years on, they're not just you don't want to burn that, you're going to spend it. I'd like to completely remove that option. I'd like to do everything in my power to remove it. Now, as far as other things, 2 minutes really isn't a lot of time to kind of get what I want to say off, but as far as other things I'd like to have implemented, I'd like to I know a lot of fraternities are having problems right now, problems I'll address in the fraternity council meeting I have to bring up later. However, the autonomy of fraternities is at risk. Their culture, their lifestyle is at risk. I'd like to ratify that in a constitutional amendment or some other form of legislation. Thank you.
Just to clarify on some information shared about meal plans, students who are required to have meal plans are those who live in Thomas Jefferson Hall Residential Commons, have under 60 credit hours, and are under 21 years of age. Students who live in fraternity or sorority housing are not required, as well as other out-of-campus housing like Christian Campus Fellowship. Just provide further background. Our next question is, what are issues that you have noticed on campus that you feel should be prioritized? We'll start with Trevor.
Again, I mentioned the payment. I feel like I don't really need to bring that back up. And I've also mentioned the lack of participation I feel student council has been involved in recently. But the primary issue I feel like I haven't really gotten involved in that I brought up earlier is the lack of maintenance on our buildings. I don't know if anybody has been inside of the physics building recently. Yikes, that's fallen apart. And we're doing all this. We've got all this going on. While we're building a whole bunch of new structures, we're building the whatever that building back there is called. Totally forgot, totally blank. But we're spending all this money on new buildings why? We need to be repairing old ones. It was shrank recently. I don't remember what quite happened, but there was some sort of black mold or asbestos in the building that was causing a problem. They had to gut the whole thing. They're still going on and doing that. But the money is not going to that until it is literally, possibly lethal to the students. That is a serious problem if we're not going to address clear issues until, people could possibly die. That's absurd to me. So I'd like to do everything in my power to make sure that we are halting funding for new buildings. We're having an unnatural expansion right now, where we need to be going back and putting a lot of renovation focus into a lot of old buildings. While maybe we don't have to fully deck them out and niceties, flat screen TVs everywhere and LED lights, we at least fix maybe the plumbing or the structural foundations instead of going out and building a third visitor center. Wouldn't that be a lot better, huh? You walk into the physics building, you sit down in a lecture hall, and your seat doesn't collapse out in front of you. Anyway, again, wish I had a lot more time to talk about issues, but I'll rescind the rest of my time.
Thank you. Becca?
Yeah, okay. So I would like to also talk about dining, because I think that the student council has been doing a great job to combat the dining issues that we've had recently, and I think that we should continue to do that. And dining specifically has these focus groups, which I signed up for immediately because I was like, okay, I have opinions, guys, and they want the opinions of the students, and so I think that we should continue doing that kind of stuff. Again, like I said about the awards banquet, back in the day when Stuco was originally founded, the Greek awards banquet and the Stuco awards banquet were one big banquet celebrating all the leaders across campus. And I want to bring that kind of stuff back. And you would be working with the leadership and development lead. And I want to make sure the people on my cabinet want to be here and want to continue to facilitate this kind of stuff. And then another one of my points, like my platforms, is accessibility. I want to work with the SDI liaison and work at making things more accessible, and again, like with making sure that there's notes posted on Canvas if people can't be there, or make sure that we use the microphones correctly if people are hard of hearing. Like, make sure that every single student is seen and understood. And then again, with the resolutions, I want to bring back the resolutions that have already been enacted but are not being followed through with, like with the administration and the rest of the student community. And if we need to, let's build on these resolutions. Let's continue making this legislation so that way faculty, admin, whoever can see that this is a student problem and it's a continual student problem. Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. We're going to move forward a couple of questions just because of time. How would you ensure that all students at S&T feel represented and heard? Becca, you're first.
Yes, okay. This is a great question. So I believe that Stuco is an org of representation. I think that students can feel represented having organizations that represent them. And so whether that be an RSO that represents them in a niche way or Stuco as a whole. And then within that, I think that we need to bring back the SAFB training, because new organizations or new executive boards do not completely understand how to get money from Stuco when it's money that we as students are giving the school for this kind of stuff. And so we need to get rid of those barriers of like, I don't even know what I'm doing. And so let's come alongside these people and even make it, let's shout it on the rooftops for everyone to come and learn how to apply for money through Stuco, so that way we can have bigger, better events, have new organizations pop up that are super fun and awesome and all of that. So thank you.
All right, Trevor?
Like I've said several times, nobody has any idea that student council exists. I would like to make sure that, again, they do public appearances constantly, as well as all legislation, not just from student council, but by the administration, every possible change to the school I'd like to have presented in front of the students, either on maybe the minor bite screens, really get to use those televisions, posters, or maybe even we'll have a town crier, hear ye, bringing up the all the changes to our legislation that we'd be making. That way the students actually know that things are going on. as well as they know who is representing them. So I would like to be the kind of president that students walk up to in the hallway, that they see walking along in campus, getting a milkshake from, Chick-fil-A, and they ask and they say, hey, can you change this? What about this? How are things going with this bill? That is how I would like to make students feel represented. I fully intend, if I'm to become president, I fully intend to walk around in at least a dress shirt and a tie and pants everywhere I go. I want students to know I exist, at least me. It doesn't have, I would like for all of student council, but that's up to their actions at the end of the day. I would like them to know I exist. I'd like to make sure every one of you knows that I exist, and I want to be the kind of guy you can just walk up to and say, hey, I had raw chicken at TJ. What's up with that? And I'll be like, working on it. But, at the end of the day, the representation is really going to come down to me in general, because I'm the only one who can control my actions. I can't get the rest of student council well, I'd like to try, but at the end of the day, it's up to me. I'd like to be that kind of guy that you walk up to, that everybody knows, that they can trust to get what they want done.
Thank you. How would you handle disagreement or criticism as president? Start with Trevor.
I would say it would depend on who is disagreeing with me. You see, if I'm working with my, the student council, I obviously should take into consideration everything, all of their important criticisms of me. I'm obviously not a perfect human being, and the people that are closest to me, the people that I trust, I would hope would be critiquing me regularly. So I would honestly encourage critiques, especially from student council and even students around me. Like I said, if I'm public, I want people to come up to me and critique me. However, if I'm disagreeing with administration, that is something completely different. If it is something that I believe is genuinely affect the students negatively in either short-term or long-term, I intend to stand as firm as humanly possible on that issue. Obviously, I'll have civil conversations. Obviously, I'll talk about it. However, if they're trying to push something that is obviously stupid, obviously completely detrimental to our lives as students, I will stand as a firm and indestructible wall in front of them so that nothing they do can harm you as students. I want to make all of your lives as better as possible. And to do that, I'm going to have to fight criticism from the administration all the time. Again, from my student council, my fellow officers, I will very gladly take any criticism to heart. I will gladly talk about it, sit down, have a discussion, maybe over a cup of hot chocolate if it's nice and cold in the winter, lemonade if it's hot in summer. But against the people who are not working in necessarily your best interests, that is who I will stand firm against in disagreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Becca.
Yes. I believe that criticism comes from a good place. I think that anyone who has criticism has a want for change, and sometimes it comes across as an anonymous post on Fizz, but I think there's still credibility in that. That's something that we need to take to heart and work to fix. And I agree with Trevor. I think it's different when it's your students, your peers that are criticizing you. However, within the admin as well, I think their criticisms are also valid because they are working towards the betterment of the university, the betterment of student lives as well, though they may go about it differently than we may. And so I think being able to find validity in all of that and being able to have those civil conversations, taking what they want, taking what we want, being able to find either a middle ground if that is like an applicable situation, or if we need to say, hey, no, this is not okay, this would be to the detriment of students. And I've had this happen multiple times. I've had criticism in student council. Last semester, there was a whole thing where they were going to defund 2 design teams, but on no basis. And so for me, I didn't have a stake in it because I'm not on a design team, but I wanted there to be a definition for a design team, so that way if we are defunding people, we can defund them based on facts. And so right now people are working on that with the SDELC and with non-biased people and people in the design teams they were trying to defund. And so I think that kind of example is where I would come from with criticism. And again, I just want to reiterate, I think all criticism is great, and we need to always have criticism. Otherwise, how are we going to change for the betterment of the students? Thank you.
Our last prepared question, in your eyes, what are the strengths of the university and the students attending? Becca, we'll start with you.
Cool. Okay, I think that our university, we are a STEM school, and then I'm a science major, but with specifically engineers, we always say we're good problem solvers, right? I think that is very true. And I also think that the students as a whole are passionate about a plethora of things. I think we need to mush those two things together, passion and problem solving, and work together to work for the betterment of the students, whether that be more RSOs, working on different budgets, allocating money differently, or hey, let's not have as many exams in a week. I think this university itself prides itself on being a university of engineers, even if we all aren't engineers, and we need to work towards fixing the problems that we see, not just complaining. I know we all love to complain. However, I think complaining without action does nothing. We need to complain and work towards a goal. And so, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Trevor.
Above all, from what I've realized in my 3-some years at this school, is that our students are persistent. The farther you go in this school, the stronger you become. Everybody knows this school is hard. Everybody knows this school is difficult. I mean, a lot of you probably aren't engineers, or at least mechanical ones, so you haven't taken statics, but gee whiz. Let me tell you, our school is built on survivors. Our school is built on the people who stick it out until the end, who are willing to do what is necessary for their success. That is what I need from the student body. I need not only for the student body to rely on me, but a lot of things I want to get done, I'm not going to be able to get done without the student body as a whole, without people who are on my side. And to see that this school is full of those kind of people who are just as strong, just as big walls in the way of the problems that they face in their life. I see you as perseverant, strong, capable. I hope and I expect that if I am elected president, we can all work together in a joint perseverance to make our school better, make our lives better, and hopefully, at the end of the day, make the world better. I do not want to just stop with the school. That's a very limited expectation. I want to make the world better. And by doing that, we start here. We start in our communities with our families and with our friends. And the perseverance that this school teaches, the perseverance that this school builds, is the key to that success. Nothing shall stand in our way. I want to see everything that we have planned come full to fruition. I want to see everything that we want to have done completed to the best of our possible abilities, and I want to make your lives better. I want to make everything in the world better for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Due to time, and if it's okay with both candidates, we're going to move into audience questions and skip the one rebuttal round. So our first audience question is, what is your dream for the campus community, and how will you work towards that? So Trevor, we'll start with you.
Again, as far as community as a whole, I, again, have mentioned several times how I want student council to be more involved and, really implement myself as president into several events. I'd like to show up and maybe even host a few events. That's actually pretty good just on a general level. Really, not just get Stuco involved in the community, but get other communities involved together. Perhaps a solid solution to that would be to encourage more intermingling events, more inter-design team events, inter-club events, maybe even clubs that don't really go together. You can have some real fun mixing and matching, like I don't know, cave diving and multi-rotor drone team or something. Get the drone in the cave. I mean, that'd be difficult. Don't want it to hit the wall, but you guys get what I'm saying. Is that we want to really get them together, right? Even people who wouldn't interact, because you never know. A new idea for a project or a new idea for your club could come from some completely stupid, out of left field suggestion that somebody from another club makes. So, really creating those events and those spaces and really trying to motivate people to come together. I think that is our best option as far as bolstering our community, making everybody friends with each other, everybody come together to create new and stronger ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. As a reminder, the question is, what is your dream for the campus community and how will you work towards that? So Becca?
Yes. So I think part of my dream for the campus community is collaboration, like I've been beating the dead horse this entire time. However, I think this semester there are a couple events that are happening that are like right up my dream alley. And one of them is with the snake pits that are coming up in the next couple weeks. Barbecue Club is partnering with them. And if you've ever been in the snake pits, it's tiring. You know, you're really hungry, you're muddy, you can't get food. But now you can partner with this club and support an RSO on campus and you can get food. And so that's the kind of stuff I want to continue to see. I also want to see bigger and better events and whatnot. But Barbecue Club is a great club to, you know, tack on to whatever club you're in, because who doesn't want food? But at the same time, yeah, maybe the eco miners want to do something with the spelunking team or the club. And, you know, we go out and we learn about ecology, you know, and same thing with multi-rotor. That's a great example. Like, we can use that with the photography club, and maybe we can do some really cool aerial drone shots. And so I think that that is what I would love to see and work towards. And I think, again, making this space and an environment where people will come to us, come to each other and want to do that and make that a priority, that's where I'm at. So yeah, thank you.
Our next question is, what do you view as your biggest weakness and how will you work to improve on that as president? Becca?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think you can take that several ways. But for me, something that stuck out to me this last week is I want to be kind to everyone, but sometimes that can be to a fault. But I think that's that's something else. But I want to have the empathy and kindness where we're talking to everyone, creating this collaborative environment. However, with the admin, you know, can you be kind to them in a way that they don't see you as a pushover? They don't see you as someone they can just kick off, you know, and just roll over all of the student interests. And so for me, I think I'm working towards it as well, becoming more of an iron fist, because back in the day, that was more of my personality, and I've switched more into the kind, empathetic person that I am, and I want to continue that. However, there are pros and cons with each type of personality. And so that's what I would say, at least within the little last week. It's been very pertinent, so thank you.
Thank you. The question is, what do you view as your biggest weakness and how you work to improve on that as president? So Trevor, take it away.
Pretty standard interview question. I'm sure everybody's heard that before. But as for me, at least right now, I think my largest weakness is just in general to overthink. I have a lot of problems, especially, you know, with my homework and stuff as an engineer. I'm really overthinking a lot of the problems that I have to do, especially right now. I got a machine dynamics problem I've been stuck on for a while. But I think I just have an issue where I look at it from too many angles that I guess aren't really necessary. And it does take a little bit extra time. However, I think that problem can be solved with community collaboration, especially with my other fellow student council members. The ability to really see things from the right angle is something that takes a group of people. You know, I can spend hours and hours in my own head, my own thoughts, planning something out and seeing maybe if it'll work, and I'm missing the most obvious answer in front of me because I'm thinking of thinking of something far too difficult. And then a friend of mine will come in, you know, and he'll say, "Well, have you tried this?" And I'll be like, "No, I haven't tried that actually. That works. Would you believe that?" So in general, just a problem with overthinking is something that will be solved, I believe, with a strong collaboration with my team members and my friends and those who I will be working alongside and working for. So as far as that goes, you know, hopefully maybe it can serve to be a benefit. You know, I overthink, and I really am seeing things from all the correct angles. But when it becomes a problem, it takes a little while to figure out. But I believe that I will have strong and intelligent people there to work with me and really rein in my outlandish and silly thoughts. So thank you.
All right, that is all the time that we have for audience questions. If you have any more questions that you would like to ask the candidates, I would encourage you to reach out to them individually to hear more about their campaigns. But it is now time for closing statements from each candidate. rebuttal round. They'll have a 1 minute opportunity to give a rebuttal based off of the previous questions that they have answered, and have the ability to add on or talk about the other candidates. So Trevor, we will start with you for your rebuttal.
I will come back to one thing that Rebecca mentioned earlier, and that is the use of empathy for your camp, for working within for the student body. While empathy is incredibly important, I fear that in general it can be manipulated by people who do not have your best interests in mind. People who are going to tell you that, trust me, we definitely need to be spending, we need to increase the tuition by $1,000 because, we need to add more facilities for the students, when that's not really the case. It doesn't really work like that, and I don't want to be the kind of president to be manipulated that way. I intend to serve the best interests. However, I do not want a foolish sense of empathy to get in the way that people who are at the top can manipulate me and control me and get them to do what is outside of your best interest by telling me it is your best interest when it really isn't. So I just thought I would mention that. I intend to be a strong iron wall for you. Thank you.
Over. Becca, go ahead.
I would like to say that I'm empathetic but not naive. I think that there has been situations on this campus where people have tried to defund specific organizations, specific events, and did not take into fact that there are extenuating circumstances all the time. And we need to take that into an account, but at the same time, we can also not give them or allocate money to them. And so I'm not naive in that sense. Is this only me defending myself, or am I rebuttaling as well? Okay, so some things that you mentioned. Lowering tuition, how do you think you're going to do that when Stuco only works with the student activity money, and that's the money that we give to RSOs? How are we reallocating that? Physics building, we got an $8 million thing to hopefully make it better from UM system. Dining, the issue with it being really expensive is federal taxes on the building. Same with housing. What about people making friends their freshman year and that kind of stuff? Are you going to work with encouraging people to be, in RSOs if you get rid of dining and housing? Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I'll move into closing statements from each candidate. Since Becca gave her opening statement first, we're going to start with Trevor for his closing statement.
I really wish I had time to get into all of that, because I do have answers for every single aspect she brought up. I do believe a lot of the things that I'm saying are completely outlandish, completely insane from a student body president standpoint. How can a random student have so much authority over the administration? That is because of you. Because the student body is the one who pays their salaries. The student body is what keeps this school afloat. I intend to remind them of that. I intend to completely remind them that they are nothing without you. They are nothing without the student body that makes them up. They're nothing without the fraternities. They're nothing without the clubs. They're nothing without the design teams. They're nothing without the money that we bring into the school. And by doing that, I believe that I will have the ability to influence and manipulate the decisions of the administration to benefit you in every way that I have mentioned earlier, in every way that I wish to see fulfilled for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Becca?
Okay. I would like to say that I think we can talk to administration because, I think that clubs, fraternities, all of those organizations are what make the school the school. We do pay, tuition and that kind of stuff. However, the federal government does also fund us. And so some stuff, like if we're getting rid of organizations and things that make me want to stay on campus, student retention will go down. And that is how we can talk to the admin, because they want people here. How else are we going to pay them if we don't have people paying tuition? So I would like to add that. And then again, I want to restate my 4 platforms again: community collaboration, accessibility, and persistence. I want to continue all of those and make an environment that is welcoming and empathetic, but not naive, and to where people can come and learn and want to make change on campus for the betterment of the students. That is what we're here for. We're here to represent the students and the student interest, and that is what Stuco is, and that is it. Thank you.
All right, thank you everybody for coming to the student body presidential debate. Let's give a round of applause to our 2 candidates. Yes, Thank you once again to our candidates for a thoughtful and respectful discussion, and thank you to the audience for being so engaged and supportive. Remember, your vote matters. Be sure to participate in the upcoming election from March 16th to the 20th, and make sure to talk to all of your friends and people you see on campus and encourage them to educate themselves by watching the archived YouTube video on the sub-channel, and just to reach out to the candidates. You can also visit the Student Council website in our page on elections and referendum, and there's an updated website with all of the candidate bio information so you can learn more about who they are and what they're running on. So thank you all again. Have a great evening, and thank you for coming.